Ethical or profiting from individual addiction, the UK online gambling industry.
It is a brain disorder which is preyed upon by the gambling industry.
I got up to £127,000 online in one weekend and then lost that all within about 26 minutes.
Online gambling has become one of the fastest growing sectors of all.
Lost £750,000, his family and his job.
Over 2 years, Ladbrokes persistently encouraged the gambler's high-stakes betting, including giving him tickets to major sporting events and even flying him out to Las Vegas.
I've got a gambling problem and I need some help.
Each day, people place a small bet with the hope to win money, with the dream of hitting the jackpot. However, playing for fun and entertainment can turn disastrous in seconds. The UK gambling industry is worth £14.3 billion, with the online market changing the way gamblers engage with the activity, creating revenue alone of £5.6 billion. The industry provides fantastic economic benefits with regards to tax and jobs. However, has it become too embedded into our lives? From constant advertisements, easy accessibility, and even the sponsors of our favourite football teams, if you put yourself in a position of a problem gambler, there is no escape. Gambling puts a relationship between individual freedom and protection of the state on a pedestal, with a fine line between addiction and entertainment as people embark on the quest to beat the bookie. Defined by the UK Gambling Industry Commission Act 2005, gambling is simply betting, gaming or participating in the lottery, with online gambling simply the conduction of this remotely. However, the Journal of General Internal Medicine argues it's an addicting behaviour with primary and healthcare implications. Although Milton Friedman projects the main purpose of a business is to make a profit, surely it's not one at any cost. The cost being with the 1.4 million problem gamblers in the UK whose lives are harassed by debt, depression, addiction and suicide, with 2 deaths a day, and the 3.6 million people who are affected by someone else's addiction. Personally, I believe Malcolm Mills's approach to be best suited, insisting businesses must have a responsibility for stakeholders. Therefore, gambling online outlets must protect their users, from highlighting how to ask for help and regulating betting avenues to protecting their privacy and safeguarding their rights. Are the online gambling industry profiting from addiction, or are they adhering to all regulatory standards to operate ethically? Using ethical frameworks, I will place my focus on 2 key stakeholders, consumers and community, to enable ease of comparison between cost and benefit the industry has on them. As ultimately not one theory can encompass a moral issue, I will be utilising both deontology and utilitarianism. Based off the work of Kantian, deontology is an ethical approach which balances duties and rights with no focus on the consequences. Instead, decisions are based on the language that everyone is equal, with the consistency signifying there is no exception under any circumstance. Ultimately, if the gambling industry assumes its moral duty is to provide a source of entertainment, and this was the extent of deontology, then gambling would be considered ethical. However, when interjecting this duty with the customer's individual right to human dignity and safety, there is a clear violation. In line with Kantian's vision of treating people as an ends in themselves, organisations which associate such risk like gambling are morally expected to provide protection. This includes protection of customers and their financial details and implementation of self-excluding policies. Ladbrokes highlights their commitment to user protection, launching Change for the Better to identify 7 key pillars to understand and prevent problem gambling behaviour. However, in contradiction, The Guardian reports a Ladbrokes employee was told to throw ethics out the window. In addition, William Hill's chief executive comments that they are fully committed to identify risk and protect customers, whilst recently getting caught up in a money laundering scandal. Our bookmakers are taking advantage of individual weakness as well as not safeguarding finances, therefore are unethical. Consistency forms a key argument. It states if actions are unethical in one place, it's unethical in the other. A bar would be deemed unethical for serving a drunk person alcohol, so why can a gambler continue to place online bets? This therefore must be unethical, as it's ultimately taking advantage of someone at their lowest. However, to support the gambling firms, why should they have to publicise the risk involved with their business activity all over their promotional materials, when fast food chains do not have to highlight how consuming their products can lead to obesity, one of the top premature death risk factors? Human dignity refers to the fact that humans cannot be treated as a means to an end. Taking advantage of the human brain's release of a neurotransmitter which is also released in sex and drugs, which enhances cravings and desires to profit maximise, is unethical. The industry acknowledges this and provides a self-exclusion policy, deposit and time warnings, and publicises charities such as GamAid and Gamblers Anonymous. This sounds great and goes beyond the duty boundaries. However, in such a mindset, can a gambler be expected to help themselves when they are constantly marketed at to participate? This is highlighted by the story of Justin Lancome. He self-excluded from one website and received offers from another, luring him back into gambling, and went on to lose his wife, house and family. This is a clear disregard of ethics and questions the moral intentions of companies, their actions contradicting their moral messaging. Should the UK grant banks access to gambling papers in a bid to protect citizens who need the help of another person to intervene? However, under deontology, could individuals' right to privacy be violated here, or should duty to protect the safety of human beings become priority? The online betting operators have requirements to protect and provide customers with a safe environment. Age restricting is a crucial aspect for sites to get right. No one under 18 should be gambling. For research purposes, I tried creating my own betting account on Ladbrokes. As you can see, I was asked to insert my age without any proof of identification. How can they be sure I was not an underage child who would be in danger? Is it any wonder stories emerge of children as young as 11 gambling? This is betting sites not safely protecting their customers and is unethical. I would recommend proof of identity having to be submitted before an account is approved. This further highlights the easiness of a problem gambler making multiple accounts to benefit from various offers and ultimately posing themselves at a greater risk to make disastrous decisions. In summary, under deontology, gambling does not balance corresponding rights and duties, allows things which would not be accepted in other industries, and takes no account for human dignity, therefore is unethical. Moving on to utilitarianism. As a form of consequentialism which conflicts with ordinary moral thinking, it argues that the act chosen should produce the best results for the greatest number. Therefore, the ethical value of online gambling would be judged by the consequences produced. It proposes if you consider all stakeholders, consider each group equal, and choose the outcome that does the greatest amount of good for the greatest number, an ethical decision has been made. As an approach, it is somewhat in line with the total consumption model, which has been applied to gambling. According to this idea, the total participation rate correlates positively with the number of problems caused. The common good of a society would therefore to be protecting citizens by reducing participation and thereby problems. It is not only a question of limiting individual freedom, as acting for the benefit of the state is in everyone's best interest. The debate here is regarding does gambling have a positive effect on the greatest number of people? If we were to scratch the surface and highlight that only a small percentage of the population is negatively affected by the addiction, whilst a greater number benefit from entertainment and fun, whilst it increases the economy through employment and government spending through tax, then gambling could be deemed ethical. However, through cost-based analysis, I would categorise gambling as unethical. This is because the theory looks at the long-term consequences from individual action to suicide and the repercussions for families and communities. Additionally, although gambling results in great levels of taxation, the government reports gambling costs the UK economy up to $1.2 billion a year, with mental health and homelessness services the cost of the gambling addiction. Therefore, gambling does not account for the collective welfare and produces long-term negative consequences, therefore is unethical. Although utilitarianism is a great framework to highlight how stakeholders are affected, in theory it's hard to reach a sound conclusion, as government and gambling sites continuously implement new procedures to help safeguard customers, therefore it's hard to predict long-term consequences. Moreover, how can we pit industry profits against individual addiction? Surely regardless of whether an outcome holds great economic benefits, there are humans suffering from the industry, and in line with Maximin's theory that we first must do no harm, irrespective of economic benefits, the industry produces harm, therefore is unethical. To conclude, gambling for many is simply a fun pastime, but for others it leads to problems harmful to those closest to them and the surrounding community. Referencing the game theory, it's an example of a zero-sum game in which one player wins equals another player's losses, resulting in a net benefit of 0, matching the theory that the house always wins. Following deontological thinking, moral principles seem to be misplaced by gambling operators as the quest to maximise profit seems to be dominating the competitive industry. Putting gamble awareness in advertisements is not protecting customers whilst you throw welcome offers and free bets at them. And in an already ethically questioned industry, the lack of follow-through of industry commitments draws the conclusion that no, the UK gambling industry is not ethical.